If your feet start tingling the moment you lie down at night, if your hands feel numb for no clear reason, or if you've ever felt burning, stabbing, or electric shock-like pain that no one seems able to fully explain, stay with me for the next few minutes, because what I'm about to share may explain why your nerves are struggling right now, and more importantly, how to stop the damage before it becomes permanent. This video is not about covering up pain. It's not about temporary relief. It's about protecting your nerves while you still can. Let me make you a clear promise. By the end of this video, you will understand the single most common poison attacking seniors' nerves today. A poison most people are exposed to every single day, often believing it's harmless or even healthy. And you'll know exactly what puts you at risk, what needs to change, and why waiting until later can quietly cost you your balance, your comfort, and your independence. For decades, I've worked with older adults suffering from nerve pain, numbness, burning feet, loss of balance, and something many are told they must simply live with: neuropathy. And one of the most frustrating things I see is this: people are almost always told the wrong reason their nerves are failing. They're told it's just age. They're told it's genetic, it runs in the family. They're told nothing can be done. In many cases, that story is not true, and believing it can be dangerous. Now, let me slow things down for a moment, because this part matters. Most seniors with nerve problems are told one of three things. They're told this is just part of getting older. They're told it's genetic, it runs in your family. Or they're told there's nothing you can do except manage the pain. Here's what decades of clinical experience have shown me. In many cases, none of those explanations are the real cause. Age does not automatically destroy nerves. Genetics do not suddenly switch on burning pain at 65 or 70. And neuropathy is rarely as inevitable as people are led to believe. What actually happens is far more subtle and far more dangerous. The damage often starts quietly, years before anyone connects the dots. So let me ask you a direct question, and this is important. Have you experienced tingling, numbness, or burning in your hands or feet? Maybe it's mild, maybe it comes and goes, maybe it's worse at night. And here's the part most people don't realize. Did you know your nerves can be damaged by blood sugar even if you've never been diagnosed with diabetes? That single fact surprises almost everyone I meet. If this resonates with you, take a moment and acknowledge it, at least to yourself, because awareness is the first line of defense. Once nerve damage crosses a certain threshold, we don't get second chances. What you notice early can still be influenced. What you ignore for years often cannot. Now, let me show you how this damage actually begins using a real story.
Let me tell you about a patient named Frank. Frank was 68, recently retired and still active. But something wasn't right. At night, his feet burned. During the day, his toes felt numb. Every so often, sharp electric pains shot through his legs without warning. He was told it was probably aging, maybe circulation, maybe just one of those things that happen over time. But when we looked deeper, we found something else. Frank was being exposed every single day to something he believed was harmless. In fact, he thought it was part of a healthy routine. That daily exposure was slowly poisoning his nerves. When we removed it, the damage didn't reverse overnight, but it stopped getting worse, and that changed everything for him. So here's the question I want you to hold on to. What was that poison, and how many seniors are unknowingly feeding it every single day? How nerves silently get damaged. To understand what's happening, you need to understand how nerves actually work. Nerves are not wires, they are living tissue. They depend on oxygen, nutrients, and stable internal chemistry to survive. And unlike skin or muscle, nerves heal very slowly. That's why damage doesn't show up all at once. It accumulates quietly over time. Long before you feel pain, tingling, or numbness, your nerves may already be under attack. This is why neuropathy feels like it comes out of nowhere. In reality, the damage has been building for years, and once nerve tissue reaches a certain level of injury, symptoms can appear suddenly and then progress quickly. That's why timing matters. Catching this early can mean the difference between slowing the damage and watching it progress. The real poison revealed. Now here's the part that makes many people uncomfortable. The worst poison damaging seniors' nerves is not something dramatic or rare. It's not industrial chemicals. It's not even alcohol by itself. The most destructive poison attacking your nerves is chronic blood sugar toxicity. And this is critical to understand. You do not need to have diabetes for blood sugar to damage your nerves. You only need repeated spikes. When blood sugar rises too high, sugar molecules attach to nerve fibers and to the tiny blood vessels that feed them. This creates inflammation, oxidative stress, and damage to the protective coating around nerves. Over time, nerves lose their ability to send clean signals. That's when tingling begins, then numbness, then burning, then pain, then balance problems. One of the biggest myths about neuropathy is that it suddenly appears. It doesn't. It develops silently, often for years, while blood sugar keeps doing damage in the background. Prediabetes and the silent danger. Here's where many people get caught off guard. You may have been told your blood sugar is a little high, but not high enough to worry about. Maybe you were labeled borderline diabetic or pre-diabetic. That's often where nerve damage begins. Research now shows that prediabetes causes nerve damage nearly as often as full diabetes. The difference is that most people with prediabetes don't know it, and because the damage happens slowly, they assume their symptoms are unrelated. They say things like, "It came out of nowhere," but it didn't. Repeated blood sugar spikes quietly stress nerve tissue day after day. Some nerves tolerate this abuse longer than others, but once damage crosses a certain threshold, symptoms appear and often accelerate quickly. That's why timing matters. Catching this early can mean the difference between slowing the damage and watching it progress. Where the poison hides in daily life. So where does this blood sugar toxicity actually come from in everyday life? For most seniors, it's not candy or desserts. It's foods and habits that sound harmless, even healthy. The first major source is liquid sugar, fruit juice, sweetened coffee drinks, sports drinks, and smoothies. Liquid sugar enters the bloodstream extremely fast because there's no fiber to slow it down. That creates sharp spikes that directly irritate nerves. Seniors are often told juice is easy nutrition, but in reality, it's one of the fastest ways to worsen nerve damage. The second source is refined carbohydrates eaten alone. Bread, cereal, crackers, rice, and pasta, especially when eaten without protein or fat. These break down into sugar very quickly. Easy digestion often means rapid sugar release. The third source is constant snacking. When insulin stays elevated all day, nerves never get a recovery window. Constant exposure keeps them inflamed and vulnerable.
Medications and hidden nutrient depletion. There's another piece of this puzzle that many seniors are never told about. Some medications can quietly worsen nerve damage by interfering with nutrient absorption, especially vitamin B12. B12 is essential for maintaining the protective coating around nerves, known as myelin. Without enough B12, nerves become fragile and misfire more easily. The problem is that many seniors become deficient without realizing it, not because of poor diet, but because of long-term medication use. Certain acid-blocking drugs, some diabetes medications, and cholesterol-lowering drugs can reduce B12 absorption over time. I've seen many patients whose nerve symptoms were blamed on aging when the real issue was silent nutrient depletion. One woman I treated had numb feet for years. When we tested her nutrient levels, her B12 was severely low due to a medication she had taken faithfully for a long time. Once the deficiency was corrected, her nerve damage didn't reverse, but it stopped progressing. And in nerve health, stopping the damage can make all the difference.
Stabilizing blood sugar, the single most important rule.
Now here's the part that actually gives you control. If chronic blood sugar toxicity is the poison damaging your nerves, then stabilizing blood sugar is what protects them. Not aggressively lowering it, not chasing perfect numbers, but keeping it steady. Nerves don't need perfection, they need consistency. Every sharp spike in blood sugar acts like a small chemical burn to nerve tissue. Fewer spikes mean less damage, and in many cases, slower or even halted progression. This brings us to the single most important rule I teach seniors with nerve problems. Never eat carbohydrates alone. Not fruit, not bread, not cereal. When carbohydrates are eaten by themselves, sugar enters the bloodstream too quickly. Insulin spikes, inflammation rises, and nerve repair shuts down. But when carbohydrates are eaten with protein or healthy fat, absorption slows dramatically. The same food that harms nerves when eaten alone becomes far safer when eaten correctly. This explains why two people can eat similar foods, yet only one develops worsening neuropathy. It's often not what you eat, but how you eat it. I'll give you a simple example. A man in his 70s came to me with burning feet at night and weak, unsteady legs by afternoon. Every morning he drank a fruit smoothie because he believed it was healthy. What he didn't realize was that the liquid sugar hit his bloodstream before his nerves had any protection. We removed the smoothie, replaced it with eggs and vegetables, and moved small portions of fruit to after meals later in the day. Within weeks, his nerve pain eased and his balance improved. Nothing magical happened. We simply stopped poisoning his nerves. Let's bring this together in a simple, practical way. Over the next 2 to 4 weeks, focus on removing the biggest sources of nerve irritation. Eliminate liquid sugar completely. No juice, no sweetened drinks, no smoothies. Pair all carbohydrates with protein or healthy fat. Eat fruit only after meals and in small portions. If you can, take a short walk after eating. Even 10 minutes helps lower blood sugar and improve circulation to nerve tissue. And if you haven't had your vitamin B12 levels checked, ask for it. Don't change medications on your own, but be aware of their potential impact on nutrient levels. Pay attention to what happens. Many seniors notice less burning at night, better sleep, and steadier balance. These changes may seem small, but they are powerful signals. They tell you the damage is not yet fixed in stone. Here's something I want to say very clearly. Neuropathy is not always reversible. Anyone promising a miracle cure is not being honest, but anyone telling you nothing can be done is also wrong. There's a wide space between those two extremes, and that's where real progress lives. Nerve damage often develops over years. It makes sense that improvement takes time, but stopping the poison is always the first and most important step. This isn't just about pain, it's about independence. It's about being able to feel the ground beneath your feet, trust your balance, and move through your day without fear. If you've noticed early warning signs, take them seriously. The sooner you protect your nerves, the more of your quality of life you can preserve.